Good morning, children. Today in English, in class 11, we continue the chapter We're Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together. Just to recall what we did yesterday was that Suzanne had come and given a card, a beautifully made card on which she had drawn caricatures of her parents, and in that she had conveyed a message that their life has been so wonderful, and she conveyed her gratitude to her father and the mother, of course. Now, I checked and rechecked my calculations. We had, that is because what the card, after he got the card from the daughter, and in fact, both the children had been so supportive that they had encouraged and inspired at every point of time. So he wanted to make another effort. We had lost our main compass. A compass is an instrument which tells us about the directions. And I was using a spare, an extra one that he had, which had not been corrected for magnetic variation. It was not very accurate. The compass which he was utilizing now, that he was using now, it was not accurate, but like we say, something better than nothing. So it gave him a general estimate. I made an allowance for this. That meant I knew very well that it would not be accurate, but at least it could give them some sense of direction. And another estimate of the influence of the westerly currents which flow through this part of the Indian Ocean. About 2 p.m., I went on deck and asked Larry to steer a course of 185 degrees. So, after he finished with all the calculations and made a plan, so he went up and conveyed the message to Larry that they have to steer. Steer means to guide or control the movement of a ship in a particular direction. So, he went and told him that in this direction they had to sail. If we were lucky, that is, if luck favored them, if they were fortunate, I told him with a conviction I did not feel he could expect to see the island at about 5 p.m. So he went and told him that if all goes well, by 5 p.m. they could be near the island that they were sailing towards. But he was not, I told him with a conviction. That means he was not confident himself. He was not sure about himself. He was not certain himself. But this is what he had planned and this is what he conveyed to Larry. So, in a way, one can say that he was not too sure about it, that they would be able to reach the island. But that is, according to the plans and the direction, they could expect to be there by 5 p.m. Then with a heavy heart, because he felt that things were not working for them well enough, I went below, climbed on my bunk and amazingly dozed off. And he went because physically and mentally he was so exhausted that he slept. When I woke, it was 6 p.m. They had expected to be there by 5 p.m. So, and growing dark. So he woke up 6 p.m. an hour later. I knew we must have missed the island. And he also had the realization that perhaps they've missed the island and with the sail we had left, we couldn't hope to beat back into the westerly winds. And the condition of the boat was such that now they could not go back. So he felt that one opportunity which they had, probably that is also gone now. That is also lost. At that moment, a tousled head appeared by my bunk. A tousled head, that means untidy hair. So, can I have a hug? Jonathan asked. Sue was right behind him. So the two children came to his cabin and they were so excited, but the father did not know what was the reason of their excitement. So they just simply wanted to hug the father. Why am I getting a hug now? I asked. What is the need and what is the reason? Because you are the best daddy in the whole world and the best captain, my son replied. So both the children were so excited, they were delighted, they were overwhelmed with joy. And they had come here to share it with the father, stating that he was the best father in the whole world and he was also the best captain. Not today, John, I'm afraid. So today he was not happy about it because he had not done what he ought to have done, because he wanted to save all lives, but he had not been successful till now. Why, you must be. said Sue in a matter-of-fact voice. "You found the island." She told the father that he had all the reason to know that he was the best father in the whole world and he was the best captain in the whole world because he has brought them close to that island. "What?" I shouted in disbelief. That means it was incredible. He had not expected this to happen. "It's out there in front of us," they chorused. That is, that the island is right in front of them. Both the children spoke, "as big as a battleship." That meant that little island brought them so much joy and delight and happiness. I rushed on deck and gazed with relief. He could not believe till he saw it himself. He rushed up to the deck and looked at the stark outline of the Ile Amsterdam. At that, he looked at that island. It was only a bleak piece of volcanic rock with little vegetation, the most beautiful island in the world. He said there was nothing very beautiful about that island. There was not much vegetation. It was a lot of rocks over there, but it happened to be the most beautiful island in the world. Why it happened to be the most beautiful island in the world? Because of which their lives had been saved, that they had managed to reach close by. That meant that they would survive now. So he says now that we anchored offshore. We anchored offshore for the night. It was dark now, so it would not be possible for them to go up to the shore. So they stayed where they had reached. And the next morning, all 28 inhabitants of the island cheered us as they helped us ashore. And the next morning, all 28, it was a small island only, and there were 28 inhabitants. Inhabitants means people residing over there, people living on that island. So they all very gladly held them and brought the ship up to this shore. With land under my feet again, my thoughts were full of Larry and Herbie. The moment he stepped on land again, he saw that it was important for him to realize and understand that the credit was not entirely his. Everybody on that boat had helped and supported each other. My thoughts were full of Larry and Herbie. He recalled how cheerfully, how happily and optimistic under the direst stress. Optimistic means hopeful. That they had never given hope. They always were hoping and worked very cheerfully and happily under the direst stress. Direst means the greatest stress. They had faced an ordeal and they did not know whether it would be possible for them to reach this island or not. But even then, throughout, consistently, they were cheerful and they were optimistic. And of Mary, what was Mary's contribution also? That is, who stayed at the wheel for all those crucial hours. That means at that critical time, when it was important to save the boat, repair the boat and attend to all the other things, she had taken charge of the wheel at that critical time. Most of all, I thought of a 7-year-old girl who did not want us to worry about a head injury. And he then remembers how his 7-year-old girl Suzanne, who did not worry about the head injury that she had suffered. She had a bumped head, which subsequently took 6 minor operations. That is, subsequently means one after the other. 6 minor operations, not major operations, but still, and it was an operation. And so 6 times she was operated to remove a recurring blood clot. Recurring means that occurs again and again. So there was a formation of this blood clot over there. So 6 times she had to undergo surgery between the skin and skull. That means a blood clot that was forming. And of a 6-year-old boy who was not afraid to die. And now he also remembers how his son was dauntless, brave and courageous, and was comforting the father that he need not worry. As long as they all were together, it did not matter even if they died. So as a family, they would remain together. So this is how the optimism has brought them to this island, that they never gave up, that it was their willpower, their determination and their optimism throughout, pleasantly going through the crisis and supporting each other when it was most required, and that is how they were able to overcome this challenge. So this is how we see that in life we face many challenges, but we also need to face it boldly. Thank you.